We live in a world where everyone is expected to be fine. No matter what you're going through, heartbreak, burnout, silent panic attacks, emotional numbness, the default response to "how are you?" is still, "I'm good, thanks." It's not that we're always lying. It's that we've been taught to survive by pretending. Pretending to be okay has become a form of armor, a performance, a defense mechanism we use so the world won't look too closely, won't ask too many questions, won't discover that beneath the polished exterior is a soul quietly unraveling. We laugh, we work, we post photos, we make small talk. But deep down, a voice whispers, "I'm tired. I'm overwhelmed. I feel like I'm disappearing." You see, being not okay has become taboo, something to hide, something to be ashamed of. We've learned that if we show cracks, people might walk away. That vulnerability makes us weak. That silence is safer than honesty. So we fake it. We fake the smile, the energy, the motivation. We convince the world, and sometimes even ourselves, that everything's under control, when in truth, we're barely holding it together. And the terrifying part? We get good at it. Too good. So good that no one suspects a thing. You show up to work. You answer messages. You make jokes. And people call you strong, resilient, high-functioning. They have no idea you cried in the shower that morning. They don't see the sleepless nights, the anxiety that feels like a fist around your chest, the quiet emptiness that follows you like a shadow. Because you've become a master at hiding. But here's the truth you need to hear. Being good at pretending doesn't make you okay. It just makes you invisible. And the longer you pretend, the more you lose touch with who you really are, until even you start to believe that your pain doesn't matter. That asking for help is weakness. That no one would understand anyway. This message is for the ones who are tired of being strong all the time. The ones who feel like screaming, but only manage a tired smile. The ones who hold the pieces of everyone else's life together while their own world quietly collapses. It's time to talk about it. It's time to stop performing and start feeling. Because pretending may keep you afloat for a while. But healing only begins when you finally admit, "I'm not okay." In this speech, we'll uncover the hidden pain behind the words, "I'm fine." Explore why so many of us wear emotional masks every day, and how learning to be honest with yourself might just be the most powerful step you'll ever take toward real healing. The mask called "I'm fine." There is a certain kind of pain that doesn't scream. It doesn't cry out for help. It doesn't show up in dramatic breakdowns or public outbursts. Instead, it hides quietly behind polite smiles and routine conversations. It wakes up every morning, puts on clothes, shows up to work, cracks a few jokes, and says, "I'm fine," when deep inside, it's anything but. This is the mask many of us wear, not out of deception, but out of survival. We live in a world that rewards strength, composure, and resilience. From a young age, we are taught to pick ourselves up, not to complain, not to make a scene. Be strong, they say. Keep going. And so we learn to wear our pain like a badge of honor, to carry it silently, stoically, so no one sees the struggle behind our eyes. "I'm fine" has become a universal lie, told with such frequency that it slips out of our mouths before we even think about it. We say it to our friends, our coworkers, our family. We even say it to ourselves. And the more we say it, the more we start to believe it, or at least believe that it's easier to pretend than to face what's really going on inside. But what if I told you that "I'm fine" is not strength? What if I told you it's fear in disguise? Because behind every "I'm fine" is a story that hasn't been told, a pain that hasn't been validated, a wound that hasn't been healed. And the longer we wear the mask, the deeper that wound becomes. We start to feel isolated, even in a crowd. We start to feel unseen, even when everyone is looking. We start to feel like strangers in our own lives. You might be one of those people, the one who keeps everything together, the one others rely on, the one who always seems calm, composed, in control. But late at night, when the world goes quiet, your thoughts don't. You lay awake wondering how much longer you can keep pretending, how much longer you can carry the weight of everything and still show up like nothing's wrong. It's a dangerous kind of exhaustion, the kind that doesn't come from lack of sleep, but from lack of honesty, from constantly editing yourself, filtering your emotions, packaging your pain in acceptable ways so you don't make anyone uncomfortable. And somewhere along the way, you stopped asking yourself how you feel. You just started doing what needed to be done. You laugh when people expect you to laugh. You agree when you're supposed to agree. You move through life like an actor who's memorized their lines, but long forgotten the meaning behind them. And the applause you receive for being strong only deepens the loneliness, because no one sees the real you. They see the version you created to survive. Why do we do this? Why do we hide behind the mask of "I'm fine"? Sometimes it's because we don't want to burden others. We think our problems are too small, too messy, or too complicated. So we silence ourselves to protect the comfort of others. Other times, it's because we were taught that emotions are dangerous, that crying is weak, that vulnerability makes you a target. So we armor ourselves in stoicism, thinking it will keep us safe. And sometimes, it's simply because we don't know any other way. We've been pretending for so long, we've forgotten how to be real. But pretending has a cost. It costs you your peace. It costs you your joy. It costs you connection, authenticity, and most of all, your truth. When you wear a mask for too long, eventually, you forget who you are underneath it. You start living a life that looks good on the outside, but feels hollow on the inside. You chase success, validation, approval, hoping it will fill the void. But the void doesn't need applause. It needs attention. It needs honesty. It needs you to stop pretending. There's something incredibly powerful about being able to say, "I'm not okay." It's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of being human. It's the first crack in the armor that lets the light in. Because healing doesn't happen in hiding. It begins the moment you stop performing and start telling the truth. So ask yourself, when was the last time you really let someone in? When was the last time you were honest about how you feel? Not the version you think others want to hear, but the raw, unfiltered truth. You don't have to carry it all alone. You don't have to smile when you're breaking. You don't have to pretend you're invincible to be worthy of love, of care, of understanding. What would happen if, just once, you answered, "How are you?" with something real? Maybe you'd find that others are struggling too. Maybe you'd realize that vulnerability connects more deeply than strength ever could. Maybe, just maybe, you'd finally feel seen. The mask may protect you, but it also isolates you. And there comes a point when protection becomes a prison. You don't have to stay trapped. You don't have to be fine. You just have to be willing to start telling the truth. Because the truth, even when it's painful, is what sets us free. When the soul grows tired in silence, there is a weight that builds inside us when we keep pretending. It's not the kind of heaviness that can be measured or explained easily. It doesn't show up on X-rays or in blood tests. But you feel it, deep in your chest, in the pit of your stomach, in the way your breath shortens for no reason. This is the weight of emotional exhaustion, the quiet kind, the one you carry silently because you've convinced yourself that no one wants to hear your truth, or worse, that no one would understand. You wake up every day with a sense of dread, not because of anything specific, but because everything feels like too much. You go through your routine, nodding, smiling, saying the right things, doing your job. But inside, it feels like you're operating on a low battery, one that's been flashing red for weeks, maybe months, but you keep going anyway. You don't even remember the last time you truly felt rested, not just physically, but emotionally. Even when you sleep, you don't wake up refreshed. You wake up tired in your bones, tired in your heart, tired of pretending. And yet, you keep showing up. You show up for your responsibilities, for the people who need you, for the image you've created of someone who can handle it all. People admire you for being so strong, so dependable, so put together. But what they don't see is the version of you that breaks down in silence. The version that stares at the ceiling at 3 a.m., wondering if this is all there is. If life is just about enduring one hard day after another while pretending everything is fine. This kind of inner fatigue doesn't announce itself. It creeps in quietly, until one day, the things that once made you happy feel empty. Music loses its color. Conversations feel like noise. Even the people you love begin to feel distant. Not because they've changed, but because you no longer have the energy to connect. You begin to withdraw, to isolate yourself not out of bitterness, but out of exhaustion. And the more you withdraw, the more alone you feel. But the cruelest part is that even in your isolation, you still feel the need to maintain the illusion that you're okay. You still post the right pictures. You still answer, "I'm good," when asked. You still nod and smile and pretend, because the alternative, being honest, feels too risky. What if they don't believe you? What if they think you're being dramatic? What if they leave? These fears keep you trapped in a cycle of silence. And that silence begins to rot your soul from the inside out. You find yourself doing things just to feel something. Overeating, overspending, overworking, numbing out with your phone or TV. Anything to distract yourself from the ache inside. But none of it works. Because the pain isn't on the surface. It's buried deep, and it's been ignored for too long. Some people think that mental or emotional exhaustion looks like crying all the time. But in truth, it often looks like nothing at all. It looks like a person going through the motions, doing everything they're supposed to, and still feeling like they're drowning inside. It's smiling at a joke you didn't hear. It's saying yes when you wanted to say no. It's being surrounded by people and still feeling completely alone. It's existing instead of living. What makes this kind of pain so dangerous is that it's invisible. You don't walk around with a cast on your heart. You don't have a visible wound people can notice. And because there's no obvious sign of distress, no one reaches out. No one checks in. They assume you're fine because you've gotten so good at hiding. They don't realize that you're slowly fading inside, that you're growing numb, that you're losing the desire to keep pretending, but you don't know how to stop. The longer this goes on, the harder it becomes to ask for help. You start believing that your pain isn't valid, that it's not serious enough, that others have it worse. You downplay your feelings, dismiss your own suffering. And that inner voice, the one that used to whisper, maybe things will get better, starts to go quiet. In its place, a colder voice takes over, one that says, this is just how life is now. Deal with it. But that voice is wrong. Because even if you've been silent for a long time, even if you've grown tired of trying, even if you feel like no one would understand, the truth is, your pain matters. Your feelings are real. And you deserve to be heard. Not judged, not fixed, just heard. You are allowed to not be okay. You are allowed to say, I'm struggling. You are allowed to stop pretending. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you honest. And honesty is the beginning of healing. There is power in breaking the silence. There is freedom in saying, I can't do this alone. And while it may feel terrifying at first, the moment you speak your truth is the moment the healing begins. Not because someone swoops in to save you, but because you finally give yourself permission to stop carrying it all by yourself. No one was meant to go through life pretending. We were made to connect, to be real, to share the hard parts. And sometimes, just knowing that someone else sees you, really sees you, is enough to help you breathe again. So if your soul is tired, if your smile feels forced, if your days feel heavy and your nights feel endless, you are not alone. And you don't have to keep suffering in silence. The mask has served its purpose, but it's time to take it off. It's time to start telling the truth. Because only when you acknowledge that you're not okay, can you finally begin to become okay. Learning to be honest and start healing. Healing does not begin with solutions. It begins with honesty, with the courage to say out loud, I'm not okay. It begins the moment you stop lying to yourself, the moment you stop trying to meet the world's expectations and start asking yourself, what do I really feel? What do I really need? That is the turning point. Not some grand moment of transformation, not some heroic breakthrough, but a quiet confession that says, I'm tired of pretending. You don't need to hit rock bottom to change. You just need to stop hiding from the truth. And the truth is, most of us are carrying pain we've never named. We've built our lives around avoiding it. We keep ourselves busy, distracted, entertained, connected online, but disconnected from ourselves. We surround ourselves with noise so we don't have to hear the quiet ache inside us. But the pain doesn't go away just because we ignore it. It waits. It waits in the silence, in the pauses between conversations, in the stillness of the night. And if we never face it, it will shape our lives from the shadows. But when you begin to tell the truth, when you start being real about your inner world, something powerful happens. You create space. Space for your heart to breathe. Space for your emotions to move. Space for healing to enter. You don't need to have the answers. You don't need to know how to fix yourself. You just need to stop lying about how okay you are. The first step is learning to talk. Not to everyone, but to someone. To open up, even just a little, and say, I'm struggling. Whether it's a friend, a therapist, a journal, or your own reflection in the mirror, your voice matters. Speaking your truth doesn't make you a burden. It makes you brave. And you might be surprised. People don't run away from honesty the way you think. More often than not, they lean in. They relate. They say, me too. Because you're not the only one who's tired. You're not the only one who feels like they're faking their way through life. We're all trying to make it through the storm, and your honesty could be someone else's lighthouse. Next, stop glorifying strength that comes from suppression. Real strength is not pretending you're fine while you're breaking. Real strength is letting yourself break and then choosing to heal. It's allowing yourself to cry when you need to. It's letting go of the need to perform, to please, to always be composed. You are not a machine. You are a human being. And part of being human is experiencing the full range of emotions: grief, anger, sadness, fear, not just the ones that make others comfortable. And when the emotions come, don't run from them. Don't try to fix them right away. Just sit with them. Let them exist. Let the tears fall if they need to. Let your heart speak in its own language. Because those feelings are not the enemy. They are the signal that something inside you is asking to be seen, to be heard, to be loved. One of the most radical things you can do is show compassion to yourself. Not judgment, not shame. Compassion. Speak to yourself like someone you care about. Instead of asking, why am I like this? Try asking, what does this pain need from me right now? You'll find that healing doesn't come from forcing yourself to be better. It comes from allowing yourself to be exactly where you are, without apology. You may not fix everything in a day. That's okay. Healing is not linear. It's not a checklist. It's not a race. It's a process of coming home to yourself over and over again. Some days you'll feel strong. Other days you'll feel like falling apart. Both are part of the journey. What matters is that you keep showing up. Keep choosing truth over performance. Keep choosing healing over hiding. Let go of the belief that you have to do it all alone. You don't. We were never meant to carry the weight of our pain in silence. Connection is part of our healing. Let people in. Not everyone deserves access to your wounds, but someone does. Someone safe. Someone kind. Someone who will sit with you in the mess and not demand that you be okay before you're ready. And if you haven't found that person yet, start by being that person for yourself. Remember this: you are not weak because you feel. You are not broken because you hurt. You are not a failure because you've struggled. You are simply human. And being human is hard sometimes. But you are still worthy of love, of peace, of healing, even in your most unsteady moments. So take off the mask. Not all at once, if that feels scary, but little by little. Start by being honest with yourself. Then, when you're ready, let that honesty extend outward. You might tremble. You might cry. You might feel exposed. But what you'll also feel, eventually, is freedom. Because nothing is heavier than pretending, and nothing is more liberating than being real. You have carried your pain long enough. You have smiled through enough storms. You have kept quiet through enough lonely nights. Now is the time to begin again. To breathe. To speak. To heal. And it all begins with these 3 simple, life-changing words. I'm not okay. Say them. Feel them. Honor them. Because from that honesty, your healing will rise.